Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. In our top stories, Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon killed at least 492 people on Monday. At least 35 children were also killed during the offensive. Israel claims to have hit Hezbollah strongholds in southern and eastern Lebanon. This assault marked the deadliest cross-border offensive since the Gaza war broke out. The Israeli forces claim to have struck 1,600 sites, with several Hezbollah fighters killed. The United Nations General Assembly is set to begin amid a fear of an all-out war in West Asia. This comes after unprecedented strikes by Israel in Lebanon. Despite several diplomatic efforts, the situation has escalated between Israel and Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Iraq has called for an urgent meet of Arab leaders on the sidelines of the UN sessions. The United States has said it is opposed to any ground invasion by Israeli forces to target Hezbollah in Lebanon. Washington has said it is set to present concrete ideas to reduce the tensions in Lebanon. U.S. officials says that the ideas will be discussed with the global allies this week. And this comes as the world leaders have gathered in New York for the UN General Assembly. Amid the tensions in West Asia, the United States is deploying more troops to the region. The move was triggered by Israel's latest invasion into the Lebanese territory. The Pentagon said that the additional troops are being sent to augment their already present forces. The coalition of G7 nations warned on Monday that no country will gain by any further escalation in West Asia. It added that the spiraling conflict of violence in West Asia could lead to unimaginable consequences. The foreign ministers of the G7 nations reiterated the need to stop what they called a destructive cycle. And U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris met the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan on Monday. They held talks on various issues, including conflicts in West Asia and Sudan. For the first time, the president of the Gulf Arab country visited Washington. The U.S. and UAE presidents called for urgent ceasefire in Sudan in a joint statement. The U.S. prosecutors have released a letter written by the gunman who is accused of carrying out an assassination bid targeting former President Donald Trump. The man, identified as 58-year-old Ryan Ruth, was arrested after a Secret Service agent spotted him with a rifle at Trump's golf course in Florida. The court filing shows the suspected gunman wrote a note months earlier saying he intended to kill Trump. In his letter, which was addressed to the world, he also offered a bounty of $150,000 for the same. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged world leaders to support Ukraine for a just and peaceful future. He said this while speaking at the Summit of the Future at the United Nations. Zelensky also met the U.S. lawmakers to end Russia's aggression against Ukraine by next year. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held bilateral talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Both world leaders met on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly sessions in New York. During the meet, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's support for the early restoration of peace in Ukraine. This was their second meet in a month. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi had met with Zelensky during his visit to Ukraine in August. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the United Nations General Assembly during its 79th session in New York. At the Summit of the Future, Prime Minister Modi emphasized the need for reforms in global institutions to ensure relevance. Now, he also called terrorism a serious threat to global peace. The Indian Prime Minister added that cyber, maritime and space are emerging as new areas of conflict. Prime Minister Modi also said it was necessary that global action matches global ambition. And Japanese fighter jets used flares for the first time to warn a Russian aircraft to leave its airspace. A Russian patrol plane allegedly ignored radio warnings and entered the Japanese airspace thrice. This was the first time that Japan reported such an incursion since 2019. Japan scrambled fighter jets and fired flares at the Russian plane. Tokyo lodged a protest with Moscow after its airspace violation, and Prime Minister Fumio Kishida vowed to resolutely defend Japan's territory. Tensions between Latin American nations Argentina and Venezuela are mounting. The courts in Argentina and Venezuela have issued arrest warrants against each other's presidents. First, Venezuela issued a warrant against Argentine President Javier Milei over the theft of a Venezuelan plane seized in Buenos Aires over alleged violation of sanctions. Later, in a counter move, an Argentine court also ordered the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his aides over crimes against humanity. The Argentine court also reportedly asked Interpol to issue a red notice for Maduro's arrest. And Bolivia's ex-president Evo Morales demanded his successor, Luis Arce, to bring urgent changes to his cabinet. Now, the former president gave Arce until an ultimatum of 24 hours and warned of a prolonged protest. Morales also asked for a bill authorizing an international loan amid the country's chronic fuel shortage. Tensions between Morales and Arce have been growing since 2021 over divergent views on state administration. In climate news, Category 3 Hurricane John has made landfall in Mexico's southern Pacific coast. Officials have urged people living near the coastline to move to higher ground and seek shelter. Authorities also issued warnings for life-threatening floods and mudslides. The Oaxaca state's officials evacuated nearly 3,000 people and put 80 people up for safety shelters. And parts of central and southern England were submerged in flood waters after some places experienced a month's worth of rain in just 24 hours. In London, several roads and train lines were closed amid the heavy flooding, and houses were also submerged in floodwaters in some places. In the Indian state of Bihar, people residing on an island along the Ganga River have been cut off from the state capital due to heavy floods. Local officials say that medical and relief camps have been set up on the island to help the residents. Doctors have reported that they were experiencing fever, fungal infections and pain. And South Africa has been battling late-season snowstorms. According to reports, at least 2 people have died so far in Durban due to hypothermia. Some of the country's major highways had to be shut down amid severe weather. Officials say that regions of KwaZulu-Natal and the Free State could also experience flooding after the snow starts to melt. In the U.S. states of Ohio and Kentucky, the production of the pawpaw fruit has been severely affected by extreme weather patterns. Farmers in the region say the harvest season arrived earlier than usual this year. They say it has possibly made the fruit taste bitter. And the U.S. city of Phoenix has broken its heat streak record. The desert city has experienced a temperature of over 38 degrees Celsius consecutively for 113 days. Hundreds of people have died from heat-related illnesses. The 113-day heat streak broke the previous record of 76 days set in 1993. Meanwhile, acres of land has burned due to the raging wildfires across the state of Arizona. The U.S. state of California has sued oil giant ExxonMobil over global plastic pollution. This comes after the completion of a 2-year investigation. The report shows that the natural gas company is deliberately misleading the public about its recycling solutions. And on to business and tech news. Stock markets across Asia rose after the Chinese authorities announced new measures to help the economy. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose over 3.6%, Japan's Nikkei 225, and South Korea's Kospi were also trading in the green. China's central bank has announced plans to lower borrowing costs for the banks, and the move is expected to push more cash into the economy and help to ease households' mortgage repayments burden. This comes at a time when the Chinese economy is facing multiple economic woes. Meanwhile, the Indian stock markets continued their streak of new records. Today, the Sensex crossed the 85,000 mark for the first time. The Sensex climbed about 100 points, reaching a new high of 85,052, while the Nifty was trading near 25,981, just shy of the 26,000 mark. And the U.S. Department of Justice is reportedly planning to file a lawsuit against payment service giant Visa. The lawsuit accuses Visa of illegally monopolizing America's debit card market, and the lawsuit reportedly comes after a year-long investigation against the firm. The Justice Department will show how Visa is engaged in anti-competitive practices. Plane maker Boeing has given a new wage contract to its workers, offering a 30% pay hike. The firm says it is their best and final offer to workers who have been on strike since last week. However, the workers' union says the proposal isn't good enough. The union says these offers were put forward without any discussion with them. They have also refused to put the new proposal to a vote. And the trial over the future of media mogul Rupert Murdoch's family empire has reportedly concluded in the US. Although the court has not announced the verdict in the case, it relates to the succession of Rupert Murdoch's media empire. Murdoch wants his eldest son to get controlling rights of his family trust that owns his business. His other children have opposed the move. Murdoch's media group comprises of Fox News, Wall Street Journal, and The Times in the UK, among other firms. And shares of the Chinese retailer Miniso Group Holding plunged as much as 39% today. This is after it announced plans to buy stakes in Chinese supermarket operator Yonghe Superstores. Miniso is buying a 29% stake in Yonghe over $893 million. And Yonghe Superstores has been logging losses for the past 3 years, leading to many store closures. The US has proposed a ban on Chinese and Russian software and hardware used in connected vehicles. These vehicles use the internet and other devices to communicate in case of emergencies. The Biden administration says these technologies made by Chinese and Russian firms pose national security risks. The US fears China and Russia could misuse data collected from American users to develop the technology, and the ban is expected to come into effect starting in 2027. European car maker Stellantis has started the search for its new CEO. The firm's current chief executive, Carlos Tavares, is set to leave after his contract expires in 2026. This comes as Stellantis is facing multiple headwinds, including from its shareholders and union workers. The firm has also announced plans to reduce car prices and lower inventories in the US. And reports say Meta has roped in celebrities like Dame Judi Dench and John Cena to voice its artificial intelligence assistant. Meta plans to launch voice assistance features for its AI chatbot, Meta AI, later this week. The firm has also asked celebrities like Kristen Bell, Awkwafina, and Keegan-Michael Key to lend their voices for it, and Meta will likely give users an option to choose which celebrity voice they prefer. Chinese smartphone maker Xiaomi has reportedly asked the Indian competition regulator to recall one of its reports. The report found that the e-commerce firm Flipkart broke competition laws. It was the result of an investigation by the regulator which began in 2021. Reports say Xiaomi has shared some business-sensitive details with the regulator while the probe was on, and these details were supposed to be redacted in the report on Flipkart. The Indian competition regulator has shared its report with the concerned firms. And moving to sports, and we start with football. A report suggests that Manchester United's new stadium could give the UK economy a major boost. The project will create 92,000 jobs and 17,000 new homes. The project, called Trafford Park, will feature a world-class stadium and mixed-use facilities. The club has revealed the first glimpse of its revamped Old Trafford Stadium. Manchester United expects the project to attract visitors from the UK and globally. And according to a report, Man City's Erling Haaland has avoided sanctions for throwing the ball at an opponent during the club's match against Arsenal. Cameras showed Haaland hitting an Arsenal player on the head with the ball after Man City scored a late goal in the match. The on-field referee missed the incident, but it was caught by the video assistant referee. The VAR official determined it wasn't violent conduct, so no action was taken. And England's Football Association, or the FA, is investigating a player named Milutin Osmajic from club Preston. This is for allegedly biting Blackburn's Owen Beck during a match. And the incident occurred after Beck kicked one of Osmajic's teammates near the end of the game. If charged and found guilty, Osmajic could receive a long ban. The FA will reach out to the players and clubs involved for more information. And Manchester City midfielder Rodri is expected to miss the rest of the season due to an ACL tear in his right knee. The injury occurred during City's 2-2 draw with Arsenal. Rodri is likely to have surgery in Barcelona with further tests planned. Reports say recovery could sideline him for up to 9 months. And Barcelona goalkeeper Marc-Andre ter Stegen has undergone surgery, and this for a complete rupture of the patella tendon in his right knee. The injury occurred during Barcelona's 5-1 victory over Villarreal, and ter Stegen fell heavily while jumping for a ball, showing visible pain as he was stretchered off. And reports say Argentine talisman Lionel Messi doesn't plan to stay in Inter Miami. He will reportedly join his boyhood club Newell's Old Boys after his Inter Miami contract ends. The local report cited Messi's long-standing wish to return to his boyhood club. Messi previously expressed his desire to play for Newell's if he returned to Argentina. And 3 American football players were killed in a fatal accident in Brazil. A bus carrying Brazil club Coritiba Crocodile players was overturned. 3 people were killed and 7 others were injured, and reports say that the other injured players are in a stable condition. In tennis, Rafael Nadal has been named in Spain's squad for the Davis Cup quarterfinals in November. He joins a strong team that includes Carlos Alcaraz, Roberto Bautista Agut, and Pablo Carreño Busta, as well as Marcel Granollers. Nadal hasn't competed since the 2024 Paris Olympics, where he lost in both singles and doubles. He has also missed the US Open and the Laver Cup due to the ongoing fitness concerns. Indian badminton ace PV Sindhu has hired Anup Sridhar as her new coach. He will accompany her on the BWF World Tour, starting with the Arctic Open in Finland. Sindhu's first post-Olympics tournaments include the Arctic Open and the Denmark Open. Anup Sridhar is a former Indian shuttler who ranked as world number 37 in 2010. In basketball, NBA's all-time leading goal scorer LeBron James and other star players attended the premiere of the Netflix series Starting Five in Los Angeles. The series also features Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and Anthony Edwards. Starring Five will stream on Netflix from the 9th of October. And in entertainment news, according to reports, rapper Sean Combs has been selling his assets. And this is to pay for his mounting legal fees after his arrest. Combs was arrested last week on the charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Meanwhile, the music and rap songs of Sean Combs have seen an increase in streams after his arrest. According to reports, there is an increase of nearly 18.3%. He was arrested from a hotel in Manhattan by Homeland Security agents. And Barbie star Margot Robbie and Euphoria star Jacob Elordi will lead in the upcoming film adaptation of the tragic novel Wuthering Heights. Elordi has also teased the project on his social media, and the story is of a couple's turbulent relationship. Further details about the film are under wraps. And Marvel Studios has released the teaser trailer of the upcoming film Thunderbolts. The film features Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan in the lead roles. The movie is about a band of villains who are sent on high-profile missions by the government. Thunderbolts arrives in theaters in May of 2025. A bloody trailer of the upcoming film Gladiator 2 was released by its makers. The film stars Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal in the crucial roles. The film is set years after 2000's Gladiator, where the protagonist's son returns back to Rome. The movie will release on the 22nd of November. The Penguin has opened to 5.3 million views in its first 4 days. This includes airing at HBO and its streaming platforms. The series debuted on the 19th of September. It stars Colin Farrell and Christian Milioti in the lead roles. And the cult comedy series The Detroiters will stream on Netflix from the 15th of October. Both the seasons of the show will be available for people to stream. The show debuted in February of 2017. The story is of two best friends who are also neighbors working at an advertising company. They produce low-budget television commercials. Actor Demi Moore revealed in an interview that she cycled at least 98 kilometers daily to lose her pregnancy weight. She pedaled from work to her home. The actor says that she put a lot of pressure on herself, and Demi Moore now calls that phase of her life crazy and ridiculous. And Disney has released an audio series from films like Frozen, Pixar's Cars, and Star Wars. These audio originals focus on the young audience. They feature multiple popular characters with immersive sound design. However, the children will only be able to listen to the titles which their parents share with them. And comedian Verdas is all set to host the upcoming International Emmy Awards in November. However, unlike other attendees who would depend on celebrated designers for their outfits, Dust has called out the budding designers to send in their pitches for his outfit. He took to social media and stated that he wants to give aspiring designer, labels, and students a chance. The comedian looks forward to something that is Indian or Indo-Western. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.